This ever-smiling gentleman, hailing from the tech city of Bangalore, qualified as a chartered accountant in the year 1990 and has a professional practice of more than 25 years. He is also an honorary member of the Certified Public Accountants of Australia, senior partner of K. Rakhu and Company, a leading firm of chartered accountants in Bangalore, specialized in taxation, audit, business, investment, and technology consulting services. He was a member of the Central Council of ICAI from 2007 for 3 consecutive terms. He was elected as the Vice President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India for the year 2013-14 and got elected to be at the helm of affairs as the President of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India by the 22nd Central Council for the year 2014-15. During the year 2014-15, he held the following positions internationally. He was the technical advisor on the board of International Federation of Accountants, New York. He was a member on the board of Confederation of Asia Pacific Accountants. He was the chairman of the Committee on Education, Training and CPD of South Asian Federation of Accountants, SAFA, member of South Asian Federation of Accountants Assembly, member of Membership Development Committee of XBRL International, and mentor, New York chapter of Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. Nationally, he was a member of the board of IRDA, National Advisory Committee on Accounting Standards, NACAS, constituted by the Ministry of Corporate Affairs, Government of India, High-Level Steering Committee for Implementation of XBRL-based data suppression by banks, member of the Regional Monitoring Committee of NBFCs in Karnataka, member of the Audit Advisory Board constituted by the Office of the Comptroller and Auditor General of India, and various other statutory and non-statutory bodies supporting the administration of trade and finance in India. He went on to hold the following prestigious positions. He was the former director on board of the Indian Overseas Bank, nominated by the Ministry of Finance as an independent director, former board member of the International Federation of Accountants, New York. He was a member of Audit Committee of the International Federation of Accountants for 2015 and chairman of the CSR Committee of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India. As all of us know, Bangalore has been the startup capital of India and has many successful startups. Our past president, C. K. Rakhu, has been instrumental in identifying the startups in Bangalore, in developing business plans so that they can raise funds and scale up their activities, assisting startups to set up with regulatory approvals and also assisting them in their compliances under various statutes. He had been a speaker on the topic, funding of startups in India, at various national seminars conducted by ICAI and participated in various panel discussions on the future of startups in India, conducted by various trade bodies and other professional organizations. He ably assisted various startups in negotiating with venture capital funds, HNIs, foreign institutional investors, and other domestic funds to help them raise funds. With these few words, I present before you the speaker of the day, our past president of ICAI, C. K. Rakhu.
Over to you, sir. Sir, you are muted.
Thank you, Shilpa, for a very nice introduction. Am I audible to all the participants?
Yes, sir.
I deem it a great honor and privilege for 3 reasons. Number 1, all the 9 branches of Kerala have come together and they're conducting a webinar. I think this is the first time, I think post-COVID, all the branches of Kerala have come together and doing this webinar. My compliments to all the chairmen of the 9 branches of Kerala, especially to Mr. Anup, who is hosting this event. And also about 548 chartered accountants are viewing this webinar on a Monday afternoon. I wish to compliment each one of you for having taken so much of interest to join us on a webinar. And I'm sure it will be a great opportunity for me to share some of my insights, some of my global experiences with all of you, so that each one of us watching this webinar, at the end of the webinar, we're able to take home some insights that will help us to grow our practice. Friends, having said this, I'm extremely fortunate that Mr. Venugopal C. Govind, one of the most popular and senior members in the state of Kerala, has, was the chairman of the session. His opening remarks were excellent, and out of his rich experience being in the profession and the kind of name what Mr. Venugopal C. Govind has created for himself among the profession, we're all very fortunate to have a very senior person to guide us, to also share his experiences with all of us, so that each one of us are extremely successful in our office and we are able to take the profession to the next stage. Thank you, Sri Venugopal C. Govind, for all your words of wisdom. And I'm sure all the members have been immensely benefited, even though there was a technical issue. We were not able to listen to you sometime, but by and large, we were able to get the message from you very clearly. Thank you very much. Friends, I'm also fortunate for the third reason that two of my good friends, Babu Abraham, who had I had the opportunity of working with him in the Central Council, is there with us on this webinar, and he has contributed so much to the state of Kerala. I still remember when I was the president of the Institute of Chartered Accountants of India, Mr. Babu Abraham was always supporting me in the examination committee. He tried to do a lot of work for the branches in Kerala, setting up computer centers, setting up reading halls, inaugurating, setting up new branches. And I still remember laying the foundation stone for one particular branch in Kerala, and also we inaugurated another branch also in Kerala. And Babu has always been working for the welfare of members in Kerala for past so many years. My compliments to you, Babuji, for the excellent work you have done. And I'm sure all the members in Kerala will remember you for a lifetime. The profession will remember you for a lifetime for the kind of contribution what you have made, not only to Kerala, but for the entire country. And what is special about Babu is that Babu is a very simple and humble person. He is liked by everyone. Every council member, likes to speak to Babu, likes to spend time with him. And he's a great person, friend of mine. And during my presidency, Babu has extended total support to me, and he has stood with me and saw to it. Even the outstation council meeting which we conducted, we did it in Kerala, and Babu has taken the lead to conduct. We had 32 council members coming from different parts of the country, and Babu has been a great support. Thank you, Babu, for all the support you've extended to me. Indebted.
Thank you, sir. The Kannur branch you laid the foundation is getting inaugurated this year.
So nice, Babu. Kannur branch is where we laid the foundation.
Yeah.
And I think one more branch we inaugurated the branch building. That was
Kottayam branch. Only completed because of your special effort.
Exactly. And then
you have been part of that inaugural ceremony where Chief Minister was the chief guest.
Very true, very true. And I still remember the big elephant that had come for the function, and that is still clear in my memory. The elephant welcoming me, and I was entering the branch premises. Thanks to you, because whenever I come to Kerala, we see certain things which we don't see in other parts of the country. And always my visits to Kerala has been exciting. I visited all the branches in Kerala. All the branches I think I visited many number of times, and I know most of the members in Kerala personally. Again, another rising star is Mr. Joman George, who was the chairman last year. We all saw in the Lulu Convention Center in Cochin the grand international the regional conference which Mr. Joman conducted, more than 3,500 members. I think that speaks volumes about Joman's capability. He has contributed a lot to the profession in the regional council. We expect a lot from him way forward. Once Babu finishes his term in the council, yes, the next star would be Mr. Joman. And we are very confident that with Joman's dynamism, we will see a lot more activities taking place in Kerala. Kerala is one state where the members of our profession are committed for professional development. They're committed for continuing professional education. They're open for new ideas. They're out-of-the-box thinkers. And when you go to the Gulf region, we can see the success stories of all these Keralites who are from different parts of Kerala. They're in Kuwait, Abu Dhabi, Muscat, Dubai, and they're doing extremely well. That shows the commitment of our members. That shows the interest they have in the profession. My compliments to all the members in Kerala for the kind of good name they brought to the profession. And when I met the CFO of a telecom company in Dubai, Etisalat, he told me, Mr. Raghu, we have maximum number of CAs from India, and out of the chartered accountants in India, the maximum number are from Kerala. So my compliments to all the members in Kerala who are watching this webinar, and I'm sure each one of you will play a very big role in contributing to the growth and development of this great nation. Jose Kottakan sir, we were not able to see you live, but yes, we all know your contribution, your love and affection for us, and I'm very happy to have seen you virtually, getting connected to you virtually today. Friends, having said all this, I would straight away go to my presentation because many members are keen to grow their practice. Many members are keen to bring about efficiency in their work, and as a result of which, I feel it's essential for us to understand how each one of us, most of us are practitioners, how each one of us can improve the efficiency in our office, how we can be more effective to our clients. So I've made a small presentation which I'm sure will be very relevant to all of us. I would just begin with the current scenario. What is the impact of COVID on the profession? I'm sure all of you would agree with me. The pandemic impacted each one of us, impacted the entire country, impacted all sectors of the economy, and as a result of which, even our profession got impacted. But nevertheless, the silver lining is that in every crisis there lies an opportunity, and I personally believe that we as chartered accountant should see this crisis and see what is the opportunity for each one of us viewing this webinar. Friends, various sectors of the economy has crippled. The trade impact of the coronavirus for India is estimated at 348 million US dollars. And today, world economies, the powerful economy like United States of America is having problems of unemployment. We are seeing it in the newspapers, we are seeing it in the TV channels, how unemployment is increasing. And majority of the country with a second wave of COVID is in the brink of recession. So we are in a scenario where we are operating in a scenario where the entire world has been impacted by COVID. Certain parts of the country are also impacted. Let us say in India, places like Delhi, Gujarat, Maharashtra, Madhya Pradesh are all impacted. I'm sure the second wave is still yet to come to other parts of the country. We wish and pray God that COVID gets out of our thing as early as possible. So basically what has happened is that there's a huge impact of COVID-19 in almost all sectors of the economy. I've just given you the various sectors like airlines, auto industry, to what extent it has been impacted. And this gives you an idea that how badly the various sectors like textiles, freight and logistics, metals and mining are all being impacted. And to just give you in maybe the next 6 to 7 minutes various sectors, today what is happening, friends, is that across the globe, all the countries are dependent on China for goods. If you walk into a departmental store in America, or if you walk into a departmental store in London, you will see a lot of goods are manufactured by the Chinese. But nevertheless, we found that China dominated almost 28% of the world's global manufacturing output. But with the COVID disruption, the question is, will India be the favored destination? Yes, India would be the favored destination. But countries like Vietnam, Indonesia, Cambodia, and Singapore will also benefit from the disruption. I can only say that government of India should create a proper manufacturing ecosystem so that the entire manufacturing sector in the country, goes to the next stage. I see post-COVID, the manufacturing sector will be the sunrise sector. We'll see a lot more traction in the manufacturing sector. And as chartered accountant, is essential for us to, when clients come to you for advice during the post-COVID scenario, when clients come to say that we would like to invest in the manufacturing sector, it is absolutely essential for you as chartered accountants to understand how each of the sector would, get impacted by virtue of COVID. IT sector, I am coming from a city like Bangalore. Bangalore, we have the software majors like Wipro, Infosys, TCS. And it is said that the industry's revenue is about 191 billion US dollars in the financial year 31st March 20. And the other industries, that is various other industries, we find that there will be a boom in the IT industry, there will be no disruption. And this is one industry which has worked very smartly without the impact of Corona, and they've permitted all the employees to work from home. So as a result of which, we find that the IT sector has not got impacted heavily. Today, most of the companies have declared good results in the first quarter and second quarter. All the employees are working from home, and we find that the IT sector has not been much impacted. Telecommunication sector, voice calls, video calls. Today, we are all on the webinar. 530 people are getting connected to each other on the webinar. A lot of telecom bandwidth is being used. So as a result of which, we find that telecommunication sector is growing fast. We have so many new companies coming, like Reliance coming in, giving a lot of tariff plans are very, very affordable. And today we find that telecoms companies are doing extremely well, generating good kind of revenues. Healthcare would be one sector which is during post-COVID would have the maximum benefit, whether it is hospitals, manufacturers of medical equipment, diagnostic centers, pharmaceutical companies. I think healthcare sector is poised to grow, and it's created a very big strain on the health resource across the globe. And one thing we can say is that even in the developed nations, the weakness in the healthcare system has been exposed. Even in USA, Italy, and Spain, we have seen the weakness in the healthcare infrastructure. We thought only in India healthcare infrastructure is good, but the COVID has proved that even in some of the big nations, healthcare has been impacted. So basically, friends, what is happening is a new normal is online consultations have increased. There has been a dramatic rise in the online sales of immunity-related products like masks, sanitizers, and Indian pharma would be the biggest beneficiary due to the COVID. And as chartered accountants, it is essential for us to know the impact each of these sectors would have, because you will have clients making new investments, you will have clients coming to you to help them to raise funds, you will have clients asking for your advice. And as chartered accountants, it is absolutely essential for you to be current on the developments taking place as far as COVID is concerned, and you should be in a position to guide them effectively so that they are able to take the right decisions. Friends, healthcare is one sector that's going very fast. Education. What about education? Today, virtual classes have become the new normal. And today, Zoom, WebEx, Google Meet, Microsoft Teams are being used. There's an exponential demand for smartphones. Even in villages, we find that the students are using smartphones and laptops for virtual classes. So education sector also is doing well. Entertainment sector has been worst impacted, but nevertheless, OTT platforms have witnessed a spike in users. And we find that the drastic change that has taken place, and this itself, we can say that has led to a lot of disruption. So I'm sure you'll have a lot of clients in the entertainment industry, and you should be aware as to what kind of impact COVID has created for the entertainment industry. And this impact of the entertainment industry would be definitely in the short run. But if for some reason we have a second spike of COVID, then definitely this will continue. So what is happening, friends, is that different sectors of the economy are getting impacted. Tourism is impacted. Even hotels are impacted. Infrastructure sector is impacted. So as chartered accountants, when we are offering services to our clients, if we want to be efficient in providing the right kind of, because the topic given to me is how we could be efficient in office management and how we can be efficient to our clients, it is essential for us to have a complete knowledge of how COVID would impact different sectors of the economy. So whichever sector your client is operating, you should be in a position to confidently guide him and tell him that this is what is happening. You be careful. This is the investments you should make. These are the risks that are there. So you are in a position to handle them well. Friend, coming to the current scenario, what is happening is that internet has become all invasive. The entire economy has gone digital. And what is happening is that all the business models are changing. Today, you are able to buy a tie, you're able to buy a airline ticket, you're able to book a vacation on the internet, you're able to buy a TV, you're able to buy a fridge, everything online today. You've seen the recent sales in Diwali. Amazon had such a record sale. So the business models are changing. The housewives are pulling out their phones and ordering for a Uber taxi or a Ola taxi. Gone are the days where things have become so easy and simple. You can pay for a tender coconut using a mobile app like Paytm or PhonePe. So as a result of which we find that the entire world has become dynamic. The government is giving a big push to digital, online education, online banking. I was a independent director of a public nationalized bank, Indian Overseas Bank. We saw how online banking grew. Today, there's no need for you to go to the bank to update your passbook. There's no need to go to your to the bank to get your fixed deposits renewed. Everything is possible online. And as a result of this change, and with the government giving a push for digitization, we see a lot of businesses moving away from brick and mortar to the digital scenario. I think we should be aware of this change. As chartered accountants, you should be aware as to how this change would impact your client's business. It is absolutely essential for you to keep in mind that this change will impact the revenues, and it is essential for you to see how this digitalization will also impact not only your client but also you. Today, you're supposed to offer services to the client on digitally. You should be in a position to service your clients on the internet. So what is really happening is a lot of new opportunities have grown up. Friends, when we talk about efficiency in office management and how efficient you should be, one thing you should be aware of that what is happening around us. I talked about how COVID is impacting. various sectors of the economy. I also talked about how the digital revolution is impacting each one of us. The entire audit is happening online. People are, chartered accountants are working from home. Many of the audits are happening on a remote basis. Now, what is important for you to understand, there are some fundamental changes that is taking place in the technology space where we as chartered accountants should understand how this particular, you know, change would impact us. And I would like to touch upon 4 or 5 new areas that is opening up that is relevant to all of us. I think all of you have heard of artificial intelligence. You go to your home and tell Alexa, can you play the song from the movie Sholay? You have the song playing on your TV. Alexa, can you give me the recipe of preparing tomato soup? Your wife can see the recipe of the tomato soup on her mobile phone. So artificial intelligence has become very, very common today. It is being used in various applications, and I believe that our profession also would be impacted by artificial intelligence. The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India has come out with some courses as to how AI can be used by chartered accountants. And the biggest beneficiary of AI would be the CA profession, because what would happen is a lot of tax utilities would come with AI. Let us say you want to know the latest Supreme Court decisions on Section 43 of the Income Tax Act. You just need to speak to the computer, and the computer will give out all the decisions in Section 43B of the Income Tax Act. And let us say you're helping your client, you're helping him in various aspects like monitoring his inventory, analyzing the key market trends, analyzing the accounts receivable. I think what would happen is, if you have an AI tool, you'll be able to help the clients to analyze the inventory, analyze the market trends more effectively. So friends, what is very important is things like controlling the cost, things like automation the business process, everything becomes easy with the knowledge of artificial intelligence, and artificial intelligence is bound to boom and our profession will be impacted. Blockchain. The banking sector is the sector that will embrace blockchain. Each one of us watching this webcast should understand how blockchain would help each one of us. The Reserve Bank of India had sent out a letter to all the nationalized banks asking us to see how blockchain can be impacted in the banking sector. What is happening in a blockchain scenario is that all the records are stored in, the data is stored in blocks and they are connected to each other. And if there is someone hacking your computer, only that particular block, the data in that particular block would get hacked. And today we find that all the transactions have a proper audit trail in the blockchain environment, and the chartered accountant or the auditor will have access to online real-time access to data, as a result of which he can speed up the audit process. So very frankly, what would happen is the banking sector would embrace blockchain in the years to come. I had the opportunity of seeing a presentation in New York in the International Federation of Accountants, how blockchain would impact the audit profession. Let me tell you, friends, the way you conduct audit would undergo rapid change once blockchain becomes a reality. And as I told you, the banking sector would be the first sector to adopt blockchain, and it is essential for us to keep in mind and have more knowledge about how blockchain would impact us. There are a lot of courses on blockchain, and what is important is attending a seminar on blockchain would not help. You have to deep dive into this topic. You should go and find out how blockchain would help you to get into a lot of newer areas. And in very many developed nations, we find that blockchain has made a big impact. Friends, coming to cloud accounting, today what is happening? All of us are, keeping our data on the cloud. So how can you be more efficient? You can be more efficient by shifting the data to the cloud. Today, what is happening? There's no need for you to invest in big servers in your office. You can move all the data of your clients to the cloud. No need for you to make huge investments in your servers. You can operate from your home, you can operate from your office, you can operate from the airport, and it provides a flexible, on-demand, and dynamically scalable computing infrastructure. So it is gaining acceptance around the world. Most of the companies in India have switched over to the cloud, and I think firms like us, small and medium practitioners like us, as Mr. Venugopal Govind very rightly said, should use technology. And I personally believe that we should shift our data of our clients to the cloud. You can have a private cloud, you can have a public cloud, and COVID has given us an opportunity to invest in technology. One thing I feel, friends, that many of our members don't invest adequately in technology. I think we need to invest in hardware, we need to invest in software, we need to tie up with IT companies, try to see what best softwares are available for use in our offices. So if you are able to migrate your client's data to the cloud, the biggest advantage is that you can operate from home. You can work from home. Your article clerk can work from home. In the times of pandemic, in our own office, we permitted our staff to work from home. We have a server, and which is all the data is lying on the cloud. So all our team members, since we had lockdown for about 3 occasions, we were able to work from home. We were able to deliver the services. So for this, you need to invest in hardware. You need to invest in software. You need to invest in a good firewall. And with all this, you will be able to access data sitting anywhere. Your clients, your staff, yourself can access to the data of your client. You can work on your tally. You can work on your tax filing software. You can do your you can access the internet. You can access your local files of your clients from your home. Everything is possible using cloud. So my suggestion to each one of you is that when we talk about how efficient we can run our office, there's a need for us to invest or shift our data to the cloud. By shifting our data to the cloud, we can effectively manage the various operations of our office. And today we find that many chartered accountants, small and medium practitioners have moved to the cloud successfully. In a city like Bangalore, whenever I interact with young CAs, and I found that most of them have shifted to the cloud. So it is essential for us to make the right kind of investments so that all our clients' data is shifted to the cloud. Big data analytics. This is another area where you can get into. Why I'm giving you all this, friends, is that when we decide to strategize, when we decide to improve the revenues of your office, when we decide to effectively serve our clients, we should know what are all the opportunities available around us. Today, big data is one opportunity, analytics is one opportunity. If you see the newspapers, a lot of young CAs who have the knowledge of analytics are in great demand. All the organizations are having a lot of data. So today, you require chartered accountants with the knowledge of analytics, which can analyze the data and decide what is required, what is not required. It can be used, and the data can be used for developing MI that is useful to the management. So chartered accountants are the most ideal people to get into analytics. Friends, if we don't learn about analytics, I think other professionals should move in. So it provides a lot of new opportunities for growth. And I would request that within your office, you should set up a small vertical of wherein you can get into analytics. Predictive analytics is one area that is gaining ground. You can help your client proactively to tell them that we will, mine your data, try to see how best we can use this data and provide you the information that will be ideal for your decision making. Robotic process automation. What is this? Lot of routine tasks are getting today are being done by you can say automation. Like for example, payroll. Like punching of your sales invoices, purchase invoices, expense invoices of client. Everything is automated. Like how you go to a department, so you buy all the products and you have a scanner, and with a barcode you're able to get the bill. Similarly, you have an accountant who will just take the scanner and put the show it on the barcode on the sales bill. Automatically sales will get punched up. So what will happen is, with robotic process automation, lot of activities in your office gets automated. So it improves quality, it improves scalability, and also it brings about a lot of cost saving. So there's a lot of opportunities for us as finance and accounting professionals to see how robotic process automation can bring about a change. So all audit firms will start using RPA in the years to come. So it is essential for you when you configure your office, when you strategize to get into new areas. RPA could be one area. Friends, coming to IFRS. IFRS today is one big opportunity for each one of us. When we talk about strategizing and making our office more efficient, how we could be more effective to our clients, it is essential for us to know what is happening globally, what is happening in India. And today, with so much of complexities in business, so much of complexities, we are having one set of reporting standards. IFRS is one set of high quality reporting standards that is accepted around the world. It is lucid, principle based, and because today investors are there from almost various parts of the country. Today you have investors in Singapore investing in Indian companies, you have investors in UK investing in Indian companies. So the financial statements of Indian companies should be IFRS compliant. That is the reason why we have adopted Ind AS in the preparation of financial statements. We have just about 6 to 7 differences between Ind AS and IFRS. Maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, even this would undergo a big change and we'll be completely IFRS compliant. The biggest advantage of having one set of highly global accounting standards is that more investments will come into the country, because as I told you, investors are looking at financial statements that are IFRS compliant, and we have launched certification programs. So what is important, friends, that you have to improve your skill sets. Only if you're able to improve your skill sets, you can be efficient and deliver quality services to your clients. So this is a big picture. More than 120 countries are requiring the use of IFRS. Today, I see a big opportunity for youngsters, especially if they are planning to get into a new career opportunity. There's plenty of opportunity for them around the world. And once IFRS comes, valuation becomes very, what you can say, important, because assets and liabilities have to recognize at fair values. And the institute has come out with a valuation standards board. You can take up this course on valuation, and you could be registered as a valuer with this board. And in the IFRS regime, you will be authorized to value the assets and liabilities of a company. And if a company is planning to migrate to IFRS, I think with the knowledge of IFRS, you can help them to convert their financial statements from the Indian GAAP to IFRS. So there's a huge consulting opportunity here. Friends, why I'm trying to give you the various opportunities open to you in big data, in artificial intelligence, in robotic process automation, in IFRS, is that when you're looking at trying to improve the efficiency in your organization, when you're trying to be more effective to your clients, it is essential for you to know what all are opening up. Yes, you're all in traditional practice, including me. Even I am also in traditional practice, where we're into audit, taxation, but it's time that we move to new areas. It's time that we take up new verticals, as Mr. Venugopal C. Govind said. Until unless we get into new areas, we'll not be able to grow, because the desire of every practicing chartered accountant to grow. Let us say I'm doing a billing of 1 crore, I'll be very keen to take it to 2 crores. If you're doing a billing of 2 crores, you'll be keen to take it to 3 crores. How do we do it? Whether it's possible for us to take new talent, get into newer areas. Yes, it is possible. And that is what is known as managing your office. Managing your office is not only just delivering services. Managing an office will also involve identifying new opportunities that are there around you. Coming to banking, friends, today banks are utilizing the service of chartered accountant not only for statutory audit, for concurrent audit, but way forward we find that the role of chartered accountant will increase. Now chartered accounts are being used extensively for forensic audit. The Reserve Bank of India has made it mandatory for all the banks. For all large size advances, forensic audit is mandatory. There is a high dearth of forensic audit professionals. The IBA and the Reserve Bank of India have created a panel. So in case you have done this forensic course, you can register in the panel, and you'll be able to carry forensic audit assignment, because wherever the accounts have gone NPA, forensic auditors have been appointed, and I see a good opportunity for all of us in this particular area. So friends, what is important is that today the banking sector is utilizing the service of chartered accountants not only in the forensic, it is using the service in the form of insolvency professionals also, and in addition to the traditional areas of audit like IS audit, concurrent audit, revenue audit, statutory audit. Whole lot of services are being provided by our members, and it is essential that you have to strengthen your banking vertical. Assuming you're going concurrent audits, you should see whether we can get into forensic, whether we can get into insolvency, and whether we can get into information system audit of banks is something which you need to innovate, plan, discuss, brainstorm within your office, and try to develop the vertical further. Forensic audit, friends, is an exciting area of specialization. Friends, one thing be clear, like in the medical profession, our profession also is moving to an era of specialization. Just a chartered accountant degree would not be adequate. You might have to specialize in IFRS, you might have to specialize in forensic, you might have to specialize in insolvency, you might have to specialize in various new things that are opening up. Only then you can create more opportunities for yourself, and your office can grow better, and you can see more success in your professional you can say in your profession. So forensic audit, in fact, I have registered for the forensic course on fraud detection. Even Mr. Babu Abraham has registered. I've done the first portion of the examination. I have to give for my final exam and preparing. Let me tell you, friends, it's really enjoyable. After 30 years of passing CA, I'm now pursuing this forensic audit course, and I find it very interesting, very knowledgeable. and this will help you to sharpen your skill sets. COVID has given me an opportunity to sharpen my skill sets, learn new things, and forensic was the first thing which I did. The first time the lockdown happened, I registered for this forensic course and I completed this particular course. Now I have to just give my final examination. So what is happening, friends? The frauds are increasing. Frauds in the banking sector, frauds in the corporates are increasing. So all the regulators like RBI, SEBI, Ministry of Corporate Affairs wants chartered accountants with the knowledge of forensic audit to investigate these frauds. So as a result of which, I see a big opportunity for each one of us. So if there's one fraud specialist in your office, you can generate a lot of additional revenue for you. It could be a revenue by itself. Forensic audit can be a vertical itself in your office. Why I'm trying to highlight to you all the opportunities available, friends, that you can pick and choose what you require. It is not possible for you to get into forensic. It's not IT. You need to choose what is ideal for you, where you have the passion, where you have the interest. You can pick up and choose that. Technology consulting and cyber attacks. Cyber attacks is increasing every day. Today, what is happening is debit card frauds, credit card frauds, and then internet frauds are all increasing. And all the e-commerce and online payment companies, retail companies, media, insurance are all impacted by cyber attack. So who's the most ideal person to prevent cyber attack? It's the chartered accountant. If you're good at cyber services, if you're good at cyber strategy and management, you're good at cyber intelligence analytics, I think you can, make a big difference. Friends, let me tell you, our profession is yet to gear up for all these new areas of opening up for the profession. If someone says, Mr. Raghu, can you recommend a good chartered accountant in Cochin who can provide cyber services? I'll have to really struggle. But if someone asks me, can you recommend a good CA who can do statutory audit, I am able to give out 100 names. But when they ask me, can you give me a good chartered accountant in Cochin who can do cyber services or who can do cyber intelligence, cyber analytics, I'll have to think so much to find someone. So what I need to say is that technology consulting, like cyber services and all, is increasing because of the increase in cyber frauds. Fintech, financial services and technology marrying together. Today, digital currency and e-wallets have become very common. You're able to trade on your mobile phone, on your Zerodha account. You can buy and sell shares. You can do your stock market trading. You can buy insurance products. You can do portfolio management. Everything is possible on your apps. Today, you can see a lot of financial applications are developed by fintech companies. And as chartered accountants, you're the most ideal persons, or we are the most ideal people to generate or help in developing this fintech apps. So the fintech sector has opened up a lot of opportunities. In a city like Bangalore, there's so many startups in the financial service and technology space where chartered accountants are providing a lot of services. So if you want to specialize in fintech, yes, you can specialize in fintech and offer your services to various clients in the fintech sector, because chartered accountants are the most ideally suited to provide services in the fintech space. So friends, what is happening is we are in the midst of a disruption. There's a disruption that has taken place in the profession. Every sector gets disrupted. So now we are in the midst of a disruption. We should accept this. We cannot say, no, sir, I do not have the knowledge of IS audit. I do not have the knowledge of insolvency. I do not have the knowledge of valuation. I want to do traditional audit, tax audit, bank audit, concurrent, all that is gone. Yes, today, when I joined my CA in the year 87, I remember 90 I qualified. We used to spend almost half day in the income tax department after we qualified. But today, hardly we go to the income tax department. All your GST returns are automated. All your income tax returns are electronified. So there's a shift that has taken place. Today, a lot of clients used to come to your office to consult you.
Sorry to interrupt.
Yeah, is it audible?
Raghu sir, sorry to interrupt. Your voice is getting disturbed in between, sir.
Okay. 1 second. I'll just find out why.
No. I think I am able to hear him properly without, because you use the word disruption. The disruption set in. No, you are no, you have to unmute, Raghu. You have to unmute. You have to unmute, Raghu.
Our profession is in the midst of a disruption. So we should manage this disruption. Arjun? 1 second, some sound coming. Just for my topic and come to efficacy and efficiency in office management. which I have been asked. What Mr. Venugopal C. Govind brought out very nicely the difference between efficacy and efficiency. See, friends, everyone wants to be, he should have the ability to get things in a desired fashion to achieve the given goal. That's what is efficacy. If you see the dictionary meaning of efficacy, you should have the ability to get the things in a desired fashion to achieve the given goal. Let us say a client comes to you and he wants you to take up, a particular assignment, a forensic audit assignment. You should have the ability to see that your organization is able to perform a forensic audit effectively. Let us say a client comes to you for, let us say, let us say you're appointed by a bank. Someone is coming. Let us say a bank appoints you as an insolvency professional. You should have the ability to deliver what is expected by the bank. So what is very important, friends, is that you need to be efficient. For you to be efficient, you should have the ability to deliver what is required. And efficiency, ability to obtain best possible result by utilizing time, resources, and labor. So you should be able to deliver the service to the client at an optimum cost, at the right time frame, and ensure that you are delivering the service to the satisfaction of the client. So if your office should be efficient, you should be able to deliver high quality service to the client, whether he is in Cochin or whether he is abroad. Okay. So basically what is happening is that we find that lot of yeah, can you disable that? 1 second, I'm just trying to see if I can disable. We're talking about efficacy in office management. One thing each one of us should keep in mind, however small your office might be, you should focus on training your staff. Mr. Venugopal Govind brought about this point very well. How much time and effort we as proprietors or partners are putting to train your staff, to improve their skills, to improve their performance, to address their weaknesses, how we can prepare them bigger responsibilities, whether they're delivering value to clients. I think each one of us today in our offices, we should sit and do an introspection and see whether we are doing right amount of training. Only if you provide the right kind of training to your staff, the efficiency in your office would improve. Upskilling is trying to see how best. For example, let us say you have a young partner to join. Let us say Venugopal C. Govind has taken 2 or 3 young CAs. He should see whether they are good for getting into insolvency, whether they're good for getting into IT consulting, whether they're good in getting into forensic audit. So there's a need for every one of us upskill, but even chartered accountants who are putting 30 years of practice like me can upskill. It is not required only the youngsters should do it. Each one of us can decide whether you want to get into IS audit, whether you want to get into IFRS, whether you want to. So upskilling is a second important requirement for you to, be efficient in delivering new service. Effective communication. How exactly you are effective in your communication, whether you are professional in your approach, you're delivering the right content, your presentation to the client should be very good. Follow up with the client should be very good. You should be responsive to the clients. All these are very critical for success, because when you talk about efficient office management, you should have an efficient communication system in your office. Let us say a client comes to you and tells me, Mr. Raghu, I have not received the refund for the last 3 years. I should be in a position to generate a ticket and resolve the particular problem of the client. So there should be a proper method of communication with all the stakeholders in the office, whether it's your staff, whether it's article clerk, whether it's the clients. Everyone should be interconnected. And for an effective communication, you need to have a good software that can help you to effectively communicate. Technology upgradation. As I said, chartered accountants are not investing in technology. In IFAC, International Federation of Accountants, when we did a study in about 23 jurisdictions, let me tell you, friends, it was, came out that technology upgradation is not adequate in most of the CAs across the world, not only in India, across the world. So in India, we find that people are not investing in technology. I talked about work from home. You need to invest in a cloud, server. You need to invest in firewalls. You need to invest in legal softwares. You need to invest in technology. And you need to work with companies, technology companies. You can't do it on your own. Your article clerks can't develop tools. So you need to automate your process in your office. Do you have a good office management software to deliver high quality services? Many of us might not be using. You should see whether all the work that is being done by your office is getting billed. What is the time spent on each assignment? Venugopal C. Govind talked about billing. If you have a good office management software, all this can be done on a real-time basis. So what is important, friends, is that we need to adapt to the changes taking place in the profession. And as I said earlier, we need to frequently conduct training sessions for employees. Only and until you do all this, you'll not be able to effectively deliver services to your clients. So basically, what is important is, Mr. Venugopal Govind touched upon some of these points. You should have a visionary leadership. Let us say you're the managing partner of your firm, or if you are a partner of a firm, you should have the vision. Vision, you should have, number one, you need to have a strong credibility. You need to be ethical. You should be forward-looking. You should be aware of what is happening around you. You should be technologically smart. You should be insightful. You should be creative. You should be able to achieve a work-life balance so that you are effective in the office. If you don't have this quality, let me tell you, friends, you can't be a successful partner. You'll be a partner on records, not contributing. So when you look at new partners, just don't go by the fact that they worked in your office. That is the wrong way. Go for the best guys available in the market. That guy should have credibility. He should have. He should be forward-looking, and he should be techno-savvy. He should be commercially smart. He should be insightful. Many chartered accountants just take some of their article clauses. No, sir, he was working in my office. I know him a long time. I've taken. No, that is not the right way to do it. If at all you're looking at expanding, if at all you're looking at taking new partners, be open and at taking at partners who are not working in your office. That should be fine. You should be adaptable. You should be agile. You should be flexible. You should be resilient, and you should be clear what you're doing. You need to have high. Partners should be highly adaptable. Partners should be innovative. You should be proactive. You should be energetic. And all of us should have this, qualities. Curious. You should be collaborative. You should be integrator. So what is important for a professional is that you should have a good mindset, a skeptical mind, ethics, integrity. Friends, I have seen many successful chartered accountants as the president of the institute before the disciplinary committee. I find that they've compromised in their ethics. They might be very successful. They made a lot of money, but they've compromised in their ethics. So you need to have a partner who's ethical and a lifelong learner. Learner is something. For example, for this presentation, I had to do a lot of research. When I was invited to speak here, when Joman said, Mr. Raghu, I wanted to speak, I had to do a lot of research. I had to read a lot of articles from IFAC. I had to read a lot of articles what is happening around the world. So until you do that, it will not help. So what is very important, friends, is that you need to manage your office efficiently. And record maintenance is very important. Very frankly, I'll tell you, audit documentation is very poor in all the chartered accountants offices. Before the disciplinary committee, when we call for information, when we ask for the chartered accountants for certain audit documentation, we find that audit documentation is not at all there. Absolutely poor audit documentation. We have the quality review board, we have the peer review board, we have the regulator, we have the disciplinary committee asking you for audit documentation. We find that it is not there. So please ensure that when you're talking about office management, ensure that Babu has spoken on peer review in so many seminars across Kerala. So we need to ensure that it could be the audit papers can be kept in digitized format. Record management is very important because it ensures regulatory compliance and it safeguards important information. And in times of need, you will be in a position to convince the regulator that you have done your job properly. Friends, office automation, I have already said, absolutely essential for you to automate your office, right from filing your tax returns, managing your clients' information, ensuring that the proper workflow management in the office. Office automation software is mandatory. You need to have reasonable goals. One thing I find among the CF fraternity is that we don't have goals, including me. Okay, let us say, we have performed well 31st March 20. We don't set a goal for us in 21 or goal for us in 22. We just take life as it comes. Chalo, let's keep working. Let's new clients keep coming. If they come, it's fine. If they don't come, it's fine. You need to have clear goals. You need to have smart goals, goals that are achievable, and prioritize these goals and try to see that goals can be controlled. Don't have fancy goals. So what is important is that each one of us, if you want to be efficient in your office, you need to set goals not only for yourself, for the partners, for the staff. You need to have goals that could be achieved by everyone. Friends, what is very important is that you need to have a lot of opportunities are available around us. We need to adapt, react, and overcome. Coming to the growth strategy, very quick one, since I have to wind up this session under 10 minutes. I have to take some question answer. Most of the chartered accountants today are one-man shows across the country. Then we have insufficient time. Babu talked about how 80% of the revenue comes from 20% of the client, and most of the CAs are looking after officers because they don't have adequate skill staff. So it is essential for us to keep in mind that the current practice is more of a sole proprietor. And the fact that the myth is that only large firms need systems is not true. Even small firms need to have good systems in the office. Networking doesn't work is not a right thing. Networking is absolutely essential. Even if you don't want to formally network, you should network with CA firms in Bombay, Delhi, Calcutta. And don't think that CAs are good only in taxation audit. We are good in almost a lot of new areas. Challenges that are faced by all of us is that recruiting and retaining quality staff is a big challenge. Retaining the clients today, the current generation clients are not loyal to you. If you're not giving effective service, they move out of you. The old clients might stick with you, but the current generation clients don't stick with you. Then you have level of fees, clients are not ready to pay fees. You have to go through mandatory CPA. So what is happening is that traditional practice is dwindling. Okay, a lot of new generation practice is coming up, a lot of automation. You need to understand the client's business. We have to move away from filing GST returns, income tax returns. Yes, initially since GST is a new law, you have to help the clients, but slowly you have to empower the finance team to handle the compliance services. You need to move to value-added services like provide litigation services and GST. You should also bring about increasing clients' awareness. And what is happening is that you need to look at succession planning. Who will take care of your firm after your lifetime? And single window service is what everyone wants. All the services under one roof. They're looking at multi-location in Kottayam. They want to service Trichur, Cochin, all the places in Kerala. They want offices. And you should have the ability to service global organization. No big deal in servicing a client in Singapore or UK. You should be in a position to sort of see how best you're able to offer your services to global organizations. So that is very important. And the way forward, friends, is that networking, mergers, specialization. Networking, the institute has come out with guidelines. For some reason, this has not become very successful, but nevertheless, networking gives a lot of opportunities. Informal networking also is permitted. These are some of the things that you can get into networking tie-ups with various other firms. Merger of firms, two firms, one in indirect taxes, one in direct taxes, getting together. A lot of challenges are there, but nevertheless, the merger of firms is quite possible. Merits are also there, demerits are also there. I will share this presentation to all the members so that they can go through it at their free time. But yes, merits are more than the demerits. You can reduce your overheads, share your burdens, better quality of staff, better image. And finally, friends, how do you strategies, how do you grow your practice? You need to delegate work. You can't do everything yourself. Create teams for different type of assignments. And what is very important is that try to see that you're able to speed up your automation of billing, trying to see that you have a proper billing cycle, ensure that training of your article is already set, hiring quality manpower, hiring flexi staff. So to enhance client value, you have to keep in contact with the clients, send useful articles to the clients, helping clients with your contacts, building a personal relationship with them, offering use of firm facilities, volunteering to attend clients' internal meeting, and what is important for you is to withdraw from services that doesn't give you good fee, and try to see if you are innovative, improve the speed of billing, improve the speed of collection, reduce space and equipment costs, and accommodate part-time and flexi staff. A lot of women CAs around you would be interested to work for you half a day. You just see whether you can accommodate them. Finally, friends, I can only say that each one of us, whether you're a small practitioner, whether you're a medium practitioner, we should deliver outstanding service, very important. And we should provide maximum satisfaction to a client. A client should be very happy coming to you. And finally, yes, we all work for achieving financial success. Friends, if you keep all this in mind, it is possible for each one of us to be successful. And I'm sure, each one of us watching this webinar will be in a position to sort of understand that, like adopting different management techniques, you can manage your office effectively. Thank you very much, friends. And now I'm ready to take the questions.
Thank you, sir. It was a wonderful session. You touched upon all the aspects, right from AI, data analytics, robotics, etc. And you touched upon what is efficacy and what is efficiency in office management. Everything you touched upon. Members, you can use the Q&A option. You can ask questions. Raghu sir is ready to take questions. Now, may I call upon the session chairman, BCG, to sum up the session, to sum up his deliberations. Sir, can you just unmute and can you speak? Sir, it is muted.
Is it okay? I'll unmute now.
Yes. Now audible, sir.
I agree with you, Anu, that it has been a brilliant session. Actually, Raghu has taken to new the whole subject to new dimensions. He was not just confining only to the mere for what he was talking about the state of economy, world economy, Indian economy, the sector-wise position, how COVID has affected the whole range of industrial activity in different sectors. How all sectors are struggling hard to gain the ground. What steps are needed in the emerging scenario? The professional responsibility at that point of time. What we chartered accountants have to do. Navigation is so very complex. Using our knowledge and skills and all the expertise that we have to help all the clients to get out of the morass to which they have fallen into. He also talked about the technological changes that have been happening in the last 3, 4, 5 years, about the need for cloud computing, about blockchain, about the robotic process automation, various other artificial intelligence, technology applications which are necessary. Because the way for the business is changing so very fast, and you cannot live in silos. No one can remain in silos. And India is also catching up with all the business advancements in a very fast manner. Therefore, it is absolutely essential that as the business grows in India, that's why it's most important most for effective support services to the business, also catch up with the times, though we need to incorporate technology in our practice. And he has also rightly underscored that the chartered accountant can remain all by himself. And he has to grow. He has to join hands. He has to find out what he is good at, and his own areas of specialization he has to define for him to grow. Along with him, he has to ensure that others also grow. So networking and profits are all areas which has to be looked into. All these areas have been very well touched upon, and emerging opportunities also in cyber technology, in forensic audit, in IFRS adaptations. Those are things which open up opportunities for chartered accountants, especially young chartered accountants have been touched upon. And he has underscored that we are naive to these ideas. For some reason or the other, we are not really wanting to take responsibility. And he also, rightly or wrongly, tried to impress upon us that there are so many myths which have inhibited us, and you have to get out of the myths and then understand where your own capabilities and potentials are, and look ahead for the future. And altogether, I think there's been a brilliant session. So much of, as I said, 3 or 4 sessions, what could be covered have been all concise in one brilliant session in a very fast and with absolute clarity. I think it has been a highly useful session. At least some of the participants, especially the younger elements, you must have gained substantially of what he has thrown at us, and he has also warned all of us. You see, if you don't change, other professions will take over, and you will be left behind. See, chartered accountants are not what chartered accountants were 50 years ago, 40 years ago, 30 years ago. A dominant position has been taken over by many other professions now. So therefore, it's absolutely necessary, imperative that we all change, and the process of change technology, we have got to invest heavily also in training our younger elements and bring them up in motivating them, in inspiring them, invigorating them. A whole lot of responsibilities that lie both in the older generation and the younger generation brought out by Raghu. I appreciate the time has been very well spent. I'm sure that the data that he has prepared, the PowerPoint presentation that he has made, I am happy that he has agreed to share with all the members. All kinds of request to see that this reaches out to every member at our own leisure. We can go into and understand, and to the extent it could be adopted and applied, we should all try our best to do that. Then the session time for this session will be very spent. I think we'll now open the session for question answers. Maybe 10-15 minutes are available. So the chat box, if there are any questions in the chat box, someone in the office could coordinate, read out so that Raghu can answer them.
Sir, there is a question in the chat box. Should I read it for you, sir?
Yeah, please.
There have been a query raised by so many members with the deletion of undercutting of fees from ethics. Now, so many chartered accountants are undercutting fees in a way that no way can the work justified against the fee charge. What are the options available to members against such unethical practices? Even today, two members raised the same issue. This is the query.
There has been a query raised by many members with the deletion of undercutting of fees from ethics. Now, so many chartered accountants are undercutting fees in a way that no way can the work justified against the fees charged. What are the options available to the members against such unethical practice? Even today, two members raise the same concern. I think members are aware that a lot of changes have been brought about in the code of ethics. We have a new code that has been introduced, approved by the council, and according to this code, there are some of the changes have been deferred because of COVID. And as far as the undercutting of fees is concerned, this amendment was made earlier to the new code, wherein it is permitted that the chartered accountant, if he wants to quote a lower fee, is permitted. That's what the question is about. Am I right? Who is the person who has put this question?
Who has a name?
Sir, now it is raised by the chairman of the Kollam branch.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
And then there were a lot of discussions last time when we had okay, out to Dilip, you yourself. Yeah.
so I'd like to make the question clear. The question is that earlier we used to have a provision in the ethics that you should not undercut the fees that is being charged for a specific client. Now that provision has been scrapped. And right now what happens is when a client is being charged a certain amount of fees, some members or some who do the work, maybe because of their professional reasons, they undercut the fees by such a manner that it cannot be justified. The fees that they charge cannot be justified against the work that can be done. It might be, they might be working alone, they might not be employing anyone else. Even then, that fees cannot be described as justifiable. And this is a concern that has been raised by so many members in the recent times. And
This is clear. Your question is clear. I think your answer is basically raising the question whether it was right on the part of our institute to have amended the code of ethics at all by providing that members are permitted to.
Hello.
Yes.
I think as far as this question is concerned, the issue is undercutting of fees. I think undercutting of fees is one issue that has been debated in the council time and again. And the latest stand by the institute is that if for some reason a chartered accountant is undercutting the fees, it is for the work that he's doing. If he's able to prove to the institute why he's quoting a low fee, that is fine. That is a stand the council has taken. I think there could be, you can debate on this issue. You can discuss for it or against it. Because earlier when undercutting was not permitted, there was a lot of issues where chartered accountants were finding it difficult. Once now undercutting, now that you can quote less than what the previous auditor has quoted, this is again creating some more issues. So this issue is something which is highly debatable, and I don't think there can be one solution for this. The fact is that now, according to the new code of conduct, it is possible for you to quote lower than what the previous auditor has charged.
That is with reference to the cost levels. You have large firms sitting in Bangalore, and then maybe there's somebody else whose cost levels are less. So keeping that in mind, a lesser grade of fees is not to be acceptable and not in the strict sense of undercutting. That seems to be the spirit of the amendment.
I agree with you, Joman. Joman is right. But as I told you, this issue is highly debatable. Even in the council, when this came up for discussion, we had a segment of the members supporting it, a segment of the members not supporting it. There's a highly, as I said, is a very issue that you could take, sides on either side. But nevertheless, the stand of the council is that now, as Joman very rightly said, a firm in Bangalore, if you look at the costing of a firm in Bangalore or a firm in Cochin, definitely the cost would vary. So if you are able to justify that, yes, I am quoting less because my overheads are less, my cost of manpower is less, then it is fine. What is wrong when quoting something less than the previous auditor? Earlier, that there was a restriction. Let us say a big multinational accounting firm is carrying out the audit and they used to pay about 10 lakh rupees, and you are not in a position to quote something less than that because it was not permitted. But today, you can always take a stand that my costs are less than what the multinational accounting firm is having. I'm able to do the same audit for 5 lakh. It's fine. The institute is permitting you to do that. So what is the problem?
Would
And then the next question. Mr. Venugopal, sir, you would like to add something to this, sir?
No. I would agree with the sentiments that this amendment is not very healthy for the profession, because it is quite possible those whose fixed costs are minimal, the marginal cost you see it may not be much higher, so someone may be able to get the work done at the marginal cost because it's fixed cost. Professional, his fixed cost would not have been already covered by the work that he has. So when he quotes for that, for him, the fixed cost may also have to be recovered. So I think the council may have look at this provision. At the appropriate forum, I think we should try to raise that. You can also do that. Okay, we'll move to the next question.
No, the next question is, how do you think ICA can assist in technology development, especially to small and medium practitioners? The Institute of Chartered Accountants of India set up a new board known as the Digital Assurance and Standards Board. Plus, we also have a lot of courses being launched by this Digital Accounting Standards Board on blockchain, on it's having courses on artificial intelligence, it is having courses on robotic process automation. We're also having a plan to develop some softwares, like audit softwares that can be used by small and medium practitioners. We're also giving discounts to chartered accountants for investing in office management software, for buying tax filing softwares. So the institute is trying to see how best it can, at a central office level, try to provide some tools and products to the chartered accountants so that they could automate better. At one point of time, there is a tie-up with Microsoft where the legal version of the Microsoft software is given at a discounted cost. So the institute is constantly trying to speak to IT vendors, IT companies to see some more and more solutions can be offered to the members. The small and medium practitioners committee is giving out a lot of such support to the practicing chartered accountant. But only one thing, friends, is that expecting the institute to help you always is not a good idea. For some reason, let us say that the institute is slow. That does not mean you should wait for the institute to provide support to you. You should be able to do it yourself. That is what I said. You should invest in technology. Let us, you just analyze how much you have spent on technology in the last 10 years in office. You realize you hardly have spent anything. So one thing institute should support, institute is doing it. But in addition to this, there's so much of software available in the market. So much of solutions are available in the market. You should go for it, invest in it. Only then you'll be able to sort of, offer services to the new clients. See, for example, today, if you're looking at GST filing software or income tax software, so many options are available. Are you not investing in software? So I think expecting the institute to support is not a good idea, but yes, institute is doing. One more thing which I would like to keep in, all of you to keep in mind is that whenever you are configuring your office, today what is happening is you can have a management consultancy firm approved by the institute. You can take up some services that are approved by the institute. Whatever services you plan to carry out in the CA firm or in the management consultancy firm, everything should be within the code of conduct. Please ensure everything is very clear, whether you can do this, whether you cannot do that. Ensure that whatever services you plan to get into, whatever new verticals you want to get into, you try to do it within the framework of law, that is within the framework of the code of ethics.
Thank you, sir. May I now invite CA Joman K. George for his concluding remarks and also for giving away that e-memento to our speaker. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Anup. Respected Venugopal sir and Raghu sir, in respective roles as chairman, brilliantly coordinating with introductory remarks and a very meaningful roundup, Venugopal sir has in his unique style done another session which is very eye-opening for us and has set the tone and roundup it so very well. And Raghu sir, being the technology man that he is, and has done a presentation, taken only much lesser time, but not missing out on the key aspects that we should focus on. The new opportunities technology brings, or new tech opportunities that adversity brings. On top of that, how we should manage the offices, using technology, increasing profitability, enhancing the client experience, all that has been really, so it served the purpose more than expected. So thank you very much, Venugopal sir, for the wonderful patronage that you have given to the program, and to all of us, for personally my guru. Always run up to him for a pat on the back, sometimes a knock on the head, sometimes we say, Jomo, you're putting on weight, so take care of your health, and sometimes a pat on the happy to know that you're doing well. So that keeps me going personally, and for all of us here for that matter. What Shilpa said was right. She was embarking on an adventure of introducing a legend in 3 minutes. How could that be done? But you did that well, Shilpa. So thank you, Venugopal sir, for that, all that you are and you have been doing for the profession, every one of us. So the office will now give you a virtual memento, which I'll deliver home personally, or me and Roy sir will come and deliver personally. So office can
thank you,
display the memento on screen.
Thank you.
That is the memento. That is of Raghu sir. BCG sir office. Try once
Nice.
again.
Good.
Thank you very much, Joman, for the wonderful memento.
He'll come again, sir. Often, sir.
I remember whenever I come to Kerala, I not only get a memento, I get a packet of cashew nuts also.
That also will come your way, sir.
Thank you.
Very good. Very good.
That Roy sir will take care of. Roy sir will take care of. So, office, there is some bit of a confusion. Let's see.
Thank you very much. It was a pleasure virtually meeting all of you.
Sir, yeah. One minute. Office, Venugopal sir's memento.
Now, Visa, he was just shown there already.
This is a proof that you are in session. That is for you, very specially, with all the love and respect for you, Venugopal sir. Now, Babu sir did mention that it's a great benefactor for me also. Right through my professional journey, I've been there whenever I go to Bangalore, call him, sometimes go meet him. Last 3 years, my daughter and sir's son, they were studying together in St. Joseph's, both finished their BCom. And extremely happy that Arjun is also following his father's footsteps, next generation in action. And Raghu sir, as all of you know, Raghu sir's father, Kumar sir, was SRC chairman. And so that lineage continues to the next generation. So happy for your presence, and your love for Kerala continues. We will more frequently trouble you in the troubles of times of COVID, where without traveling, sitting in your office, you could deliver so much of value, disseminate so much of information for all of us. Honored to have you in our midst, sir. Thank you so much for behalf of all of us here. Formal water thanks will follow, and the memento now for you.
Thank you, Joman.
Yes.
Thank you, Joman sir, for your concluding remarks. And incidentally, tomorrow.
Back to you, Anup. Thank you.
Yeah, incidentally, tomorrow's session is by Joman sir himself. And now may I call upon Vikasa chairman of Thrissur, Sri Anup Francis, for the formal vote of thanks. Over to you, Sri Anup Francis.
Unmute yourself.
Hello, am I audible?
Yeah, okay. Now you're audible.
Thank you. Honorable Chairman of the session and our respected speaker and other dignitaries of the profession, it's my privilege to have been asked to propose a vote of thanks on this occasion. We are on the 7th day of the conference and it went very well so far. And we, as the committee members of all the 9 branches, we hope that it's adding so much value to the profession and to the members. Let me start my duty of proposing the thanks. First of all, I would like to thank our session chairman, respected CA Venugopal Govind sir. The 3 golden letters motivate all the CAs from Kerala, BCG. And even though there were some technical issues during the session, we are very happy to hear you, sir. On behalf of the Navaratna branches and the whole CA fraternity, thank you very much for your participation and meaningful message. Next, a big thank you to our eminent speaker of the session, respected CA K. Raghu sir, past president of ICA, for his excellent coverage on the topic efficacy and efficiency in office management. as he said, we have to improve a lot, and the improvement should be based on the technical support and based on the factors he determined. And as a young chartered accountant, I feel I have to be more updated on the technology part, and I have to find out which all the possibilities I can dig upon and enrich my profession. Thank you very much, sir, for the wonderful presentation. Our own beloved Central Council member and the conference chairman, CA Babu Abraham Kalivali, sir, is valuable support for all the branches and to the council. You are really amazing, sir. Thank you very much for all your support.